Hey there, theater makers. Welcome back to Theater's Not Dead with Kiana Alexander. I am your host. We are continuing with our bonus episodes of women doing the damn thing. Because, again, if you haven't heard, there are too many women out here doing the damn thing for us to squeeze every guest we wanted to talk to in just the, I almost said state of November, in just the month of November. So, we're continuing with these surprise bonus episodes with individuals that I love their work and I love them as individuals, and we're just going to keep rocking and rolling with it. Speaking of amazing guests that I love, I am so excited to have on the show today Amanda Washington. So, here's a little bit about her. Amanda Washington is a freelance director, producer, educator, and creator of Theater from My View. I have been posting about that show on my social media accounts. Why? Because it's the bomb diggity, and everyone should be watching that show. So, without further ado, here she is, everyone, Amanda Washington. Hello, friend.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy it's the end of the school semester and week. Yeah.
Whew. Real quick for our guests out there, in what realm of education do you teach?
I teach on the collegiate level. Yes. Yeah.
I TA'd for like one semester at my
hmm
college, and I was, in my mind, I swore never again.
I say that, but then I get into the classroom with the students and they're the ones who want to be there. And when I say the ones who want to be there, usually it's their major, are so excited about the work. But then I also find ways to get the ones who it's not their major to get excited. So that it's a bonus, but sometimes like it's a little taxing, not gonna lie. Not gonna
Whew.
lie.
So I am so glad you were able to make your way onto the show. For our audience, I've like low key wanted Amanda on the show since, when did we meet?
We met.
October?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Okay, so I've only been chasing Amanda for a couple of months. It's totally fine. Um she doesn't realize how much I've been stalking her. Everyone act natural. So, we like to start every episode with asking our guests how did they get started in this thing called theater and how they have ended up wherever they currently are. So, what is your theater story, friend?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's a little it's a little kind of a windy road, but whoever gets to have a straight road, like who wants a straight road, honestly? No one. And if you do, you're bland. Why are you in theater? Like, I'm just saying.
The first hot take of the episode.
But I started, my parents put me and my sister into ballet. And that was not, yeah, it was nice and lovely. I am not, I'm coordinated as like in everyday life. When it comes to dancing, I'm a little discombobulated. So dance was not the place where I shined. No, it was not my strongest suit. But later on, when I got into elementary school, like the higher parts of elementary school, I was in the school play. And after that, it was just like a takeoff season of I love theater. And I went so hardcore that my mom found an art school in Georgia and was like, all right, this is the art school you can go to. And I got in on an audition. You had to audition to get in, and I got in my first round. I was so excited. Yeah. hmm And then I went to a liberal arts college, majored in theater. So interesting story. I was a musical theater major in college. I love to sing. I can't dance, but I can act. None of those were in the bio that I mentioned. None of those things are in the bio that I gave, like that you said. And so because I had a injury in college that like took me down for the count. And so I couldn't do theater or the way I love to do theater anymore back then. And so it was really interesting taking like a semester to really find how I still wanted to show up and identify in theater. And my professor, she took me under her wing and she was like, okay, come be an assistant director for me. Ever since then, I fell in love with directing and just being able to find my own projects. And I was good. I was like, acting and singing, I can do that at home when I'm not around people. But directing, producing, that's what I want to get paid for. Like, that's what I love to do. And I'm here now because a lot of people told me no. And this, like, no is a common word in theater. Like, honestly, if you haven't been told no, once again, you probably had that straight and narrow road. It's not for me. And I just said this is what I want to do and no one's going to stop me, and I get to be a producer at a great theater here in Atlanta. I get to direct. They're also giving me directing opportunities, but I'm finding ones outside of that theater. I get to teach. Yes, I get to teach like I mentioned earlier. And now I get to talk to you, and me and you are working together on our super secret project. So I love it. I love it. And so that's how I'm here. Yeah.
Oh man, I love your story so much because it aligns with a lot of my own personal experiences. I too was one of those kids who was put into dance class, and I found not only did I love it, I was good at it. And then nonsense happened, and I was a teenage girl, so I quit. But of all people to stay and dance, it was my clumsy ass sister. I love if you're watching this, I love you. But like I did it for like a handful of years. She committed a decade of her life to dance. Just to be like I actually hate performing and being on stage. So my question to you is did your sister stick with performance and dance? Is she also a creative?
She's a creative, but now she's a doctor. She's definitely though what is it? A contributor to the arts. I know she supports my channel, and she'll also be like, "Hey, Amanda, you want to go see this show when you come visit me? Hey, you want to go do this when you come see visit me?" And so she contributes that way. But she was an amazing dancer. I guess that wasn't what she wanted to do, so she didn't do it anymore. I will not say she did not waste 10 years though.
I mean, was it a waste? No.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
also, like, I don't know. I said this on another episode. This fact that, because I have two sisters. So there's sister one who danced for 10 years and now is a filmmaker. I love you so much. And then there's sister two who, again, Amanda and I apparently have the same life story, also was a doctor. So she went to a very prestigious art summer program where
Mm.
it's if the state's governor's arts governor school,
Yes.
where it's like this renowned opportunity and it's so competitive to get in and you have all these wonderful networking opportunities. And she went to be I said she went to be for music, and it turns out she went for creative writing. So yikes, I messed up on that one. But again, she was in this room with these writers and these creators and these theater makers, and she said, "Cool, I'm going to med school."
You're right though. Sisters do that. My sister, oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't get mad at me for telling her story, but it's not like I'm saying her name or anything. She's not on social media, so that's also good. But she went to college and was a music major. She got a flute scholarship. She's a beautiful flautist, like so talented. And then she got out, she looked at me and my parents and I'm like, off to med school I go. I was like, I'm not here to judge your life. I support you.
I love you and I support you, but like, I wish I had gone to medical school. No, I don't. I wish I had gone to governor school, is what it
Yeah.
boils down to.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just Kiana working through her own jealousy and her own childhood stuff. So thanks for listening, Amanda.
No, you're good. If it makes you feel better, I also auditioned or submitted for that program, but I did it through history. But that's okay.
Whew. Whew. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So could you please, pretty please, tell our audience what is Theater from My View?
Oh, okay. So Theater from My View is a YouTube channel that I started in June. I think her birthday is June 12th, and June 12th, 2020. Yeah, I think that's the day she first had her first episode. It's either that or June 19th, which I was very strategic about if it is June 19th. But it's a YouTube channel where I go on and I talk about shows that I want to direct. And then I also talk about artists who I think need some spotlight in the theater industry. I was talking, not talking, but I was looking at one of your episodes. I think it was the very first episode of Women Doing the Damn Thing, and about how there needs to be representation, because I think it was the show Debate and Shirley Chisholm, and how we were disregarding her history, but giving a lot of representation to Hillary Clinton. And I was like, look, we need this representation in theater, and we need to know that these artists exist, and it's not just a white gaze, white supremacist, and not even white supremacist in the harsh manner, but just white controlled type of stories. We need to see the Black artists who have come before. And so that's why I started Theater from My View, because in my graduate school, while I love my graduate school, I thank them for a lot of the opportunities I have now. It was very white based, August Wilson based, and I fell into it. Look, I'm not judging, because I fell into it. And I was like, when I got out in 2020 in May, I was like, I need to expand my horizon. And so I started Theater from My View, also COVID. It was another way to get my work out there. And now I try to post weekly. But yes, it's like a weekly video of a review of a show I've read, or artists that I just want to say, hey, these people deserve attention. Boop, boop, shine that light.
One of the things I have loved about your show is not only is it a analysis of whatever script you are talking about, but it's shows I want to direct. So you one analyze, here's my interpretation of the show, but then you also go into how are some ways I can actually stage it. So it's a part of it is the literary analysis, and then a part of it is the the practical
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
elements of it as well. And I'm like, oh, I want to see that. That sounds so much fun. Maybe not exactly like that in my mind, but there's just a lot of furious nodding whenever you speak on my television screen.
Love
Oh,
it. I
oh
love
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. So I did not know that that these were all pieces that you were kind of researching and reading in real time. I thought this was all scripts and artists that you were already familiar with and were talking about. So could you explain, like, how do you discover, quote unquote, how do you discover these artists? How do you expose yourself to these new works to talk about them on the show?
So honestly, I Googled Black playwrights, and I came up with a slew. One of them was Leslie Lee, who was the very first person I did the Theater from My View research on. And then after that, I did shows that a lot of people were like, hey, when I say a lot of people in the African American community who are also theater artists were coming up to me and saying, hey, have you heard about this? Or I had heard it in passing conversations. And I was like, all right, let me diversify my mind. And so I pick them that way. Also, my best friend, who also helps me a lot with that channel, even though he's not paid to do it at all, he recommends some of them as well. And that's really just how I go. It's one, what sparks my fancy, but two, who's it representing? So obviously I talked about underrepresented voices in the theater community, or specifically people of color and people of the queer community. But it's like, there's this one show, Mother Hicks, people in the disabilities community. We may talk about them, but I don't hear about it. I don't hear about it often at all. So it's like, okay, let's do some research. Am I the right director for this? But even if I'm not, there's nothing saying I can't go out and talk about it after I've educated myself on the topic. So that's a little bit of how I go about looking for them. It's like, do I know about it? What community does it represent? And does that community already have a voice? If they already have a voice, I don't need to be propelling it. I'm here for the ones who don't get heard.
Whew. Again, Amanda Washington and I are the same person. I started 2020 with this idea that I wanted to amplify people's stories just because I am personally not in the right mindset. At least at the start of this year, I was not in the right mindset to share my story, to expose and be vulnerable in that manner. So I was like, but there's plenty of people who aren't getting the love that they deserve. So let's talk about them. Let's give them the microphone for a change. So thank you for your work, Amanda.
Thank you.
Another feature that I adore is you just like will have these really quick videos of like, hey, theater pro tip, don't be a dick.
You're right, though. Don't be a dick. Just be nice to people. It will go a long way.
So what kind of sparked the idea to just do these really quick 3 to 4 minute videos? Like, how do you communicate with your actors? How do you enforce off book dates? Which is one of my personal favorite videos. What was the origin behind doing them?
All right, so I'm a director. I went to grad school for directing, and that's because my undergrad, we only had 2 classes on directing. And after that, if you called yourself a director, then yay. I was like, what kind of hootenanny is this? What? We are sending, 22 and 23-year-olds out here in the world calling themselves a director, and the only thing they know how to do is say stage left and stage right? No. And I also understand not everyone can afford grad school. Not everyone has the resources to research where they should go to grad school and which ones are going to be free and which ones you got to take out loans for. So it's like, look, what I can do is spread the knowledge, because as one of my mentors said, she said, there's enough theater for everyone. There is no need to hog it and keep this knowledge cloistered to your heart. No. So I like to say, hey, this is something that you can do if you don't know how to do it. And while I say it's geared towards directors, it's honestly anyone in that room. Best practices is best practices. And I'm just trying to make safer, more conducive, more creative, more open environments for us theater artists to live in and breathe in.
And you say us, but I do think a lot of your work centers around particularly women, like particularly black women. I was going to say women of color, but I do think it's specifically black women in theater. Wink,
Yeah.
wink, nudge, nudge. But I, um, so I just love. I keep using the word love. Damn it, Kiana, get it together. Um, I appreciate one your analyses and exposing me to new black works that, or even if they're not new, works of black playwrights that I was not familiar with, because I did go to an HBCU and I still feel as though there is a whole world of black theater makers that is unknown to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with me knowing like Lynn Nottage and Dominique Rousseau and Susan Laurie Parks. Like I know some of the more contemporary ones and some of the more modern playwrights. When you were talking about Mrs. Hicks, I said this is such a perfect story for for like particularly theater students and HBCUs to analyze
Mm-hmm.
and to learn from that one. And forgive me, Amanda, it's the Black Waiting for Godot.
Passover, Antoinette Nwandu.
Like, why is that not the HBCU companion piece to Waiting for Godot? Like,
Yes.
here is a traditional classic part of the canon, and here
Mm-hmm.
is how someone has already made it for you.
Look, and don't even say classic. Don't even say, okay, please don't say classic. Let me not be that demanding. But it's like, classic to whose standards? I hate Waiting for Godot. Okay, that's a strong word. I strongly dislike it. In grad school, I strongly dislike it. I have a little bit more appreciation for it. But like I said in one of my videos, it's two white men sitting around waiting for things to happen. And it didn't ever seem like they were really trying. And it's like, this is a white view. Thank you, Antoinette Nwandu, for writing the Black view. Because when I read it, I was like, okay, they can't move because they're trying. It's literally society holding them back. And so we always have to analyze when we're looking at these types of works, or when we're in conversations with other theater artists. They're like, oh, Shakespeare is a classic. To who? I don't think I ever gave him that title. But if you want to give him that title, that's great. But just make sure you say, in my mind, Shakespeare's a classic.
Another hot take from Amanda Washington. So, we've talked about theater from its view, how it's operating right now, and we've talked a little bit about why you decided to do the damn thing. Title drop! Where do you think theater from my view is going, and where would you like for it to expand?
Oh my gosh, when we were talking before we started recording or like airing, this is what one of the questions where I was saying, I don't know what. Like, I want her to grow, as in reach more audience bases. But okay, even though I'm a teacher, and earlier I was complaining about students a little, I love education because I think knowledge is power. When you know something, no one can take that away from you. Like, people can be beaten, shocked, whatever can happen to them. What's in your head, that's with you. That can't be taken. And so part of me wants theater from my view to somehow become educational resources within the school system. But that is something that I realize that I have to give at least 75% of my time to. And like I said, I am a teacher. I produce at a theater, and that gets the 85 to 75% of my time right now. And theater from my view, luckily, is something where it's like I can read a play in a day, do an analysis over 2 days, record it on that fourth day. And so, yeah, I would love for it to be something that's educational in the school systems that teachers can use as a resource, because people are always like, oh, I just don't know. But they either don't have the time to research, I will give them that leniency, or they don't want to research. But if I just push it in front of them, it's like, you have no choice. The max 20-minute videos discussing these shows, and your students are exposed to something. Yeah.
Yeah. So this reminds me so much, now that you're talking about like YouTube videos as education resources, they already are a thing. I remember going into my high school English class and watching, all right, get ready to cringe if you remember this show on YouTube. What was it? Thug Notes. No, Amanda, are you not familiar?
No, I'm
Okay.
not.
Okay. I am. So the premise is that there is this lovely black man who is reading all of the quote unquote English classics, and then he takes the time to kind of spark notes it for you in a YouTube video. And he explains everything in very black vernacular and like in hood politics type of mindset of like, okay, so the Montagues and the Capulets be beefing, and here's Shoddy looking all cute, and Romeo's like, I gotta get that. And that's kind of how he explains everything, but he does all of it. I remember watching his video on the Prince of Darkness. Yikes, that's not it. Heart of Darkness, that really racist book I had to read in high school. And watching him explain this white man's journey through Africa was one of the most life-saving things I've ever seen on the YouTube platform.
Yeah.
But what I now that I am older and I recognize it has a huge problem, because yes, it's fun and it explains so much of the work for specifically black kids to understand it, but that he leaned really hard into that thug persona,
Mm,
right? Where like I would have appreciated just a black man on my screen telling me things. But
mm.
it was all of the idioms and the mannerisms, and it's like, oh, he's perpetuating a lot of negative stereotypes.
Perpetuating negative stereotypes. I get that. Could it also be that maybe we could reconsider seeing thugs as people who are educated? Because a lot of times in the media, we just automatically assume thugs, uneducated, they have to deal drugs because that was the only choice. But some of those people are real smart.
I also one could argue you have to be smart in order to be good at selling drugs.
You got to. And I've never done it, but I just feel as if not to get caught, you got to be doing something right.
I'm going to assume I would make a horrible drug dealer.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know who's like quoting me on this, but I'm okay with that being on the record. Kiana would not last long in the game.
Mm-mm. I would get caught like 2 minutes out the door. Hey, you look. No, let's go.
No. Um, but I but I say all of this to say that it's already a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's
already
already.
happening. Like little me in my predominantly white high school was watching Thug Notes, and I thought it was the best gift the Lord has ever given us.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a black woman come on my computer screen like, "Hi guys, I'm Amanda Washington. Let's talk about some black folks." Great. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. But the main difference here, again, what do you consider classic? What do you consider worth teaching your students?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to like everybody's answer.
No, you're not. You're not. But I think it's a disservice to leave those people out. I had a conversation with my students the other day about how a theater director or artistic director that I know got a letter from one of his patrons saying, "Hey, I'm always tired, or I'm tired of going to the theater and being told that I'm wrong for my view." And the theater that I'm talking about does a lot of liberal work, and the patron was a conservative. And it's like, hmm, he does have a point. If theater is supposed to be this inclusive place, why are we only showing the liberal side? And I asked my students, I was like, what do you all think? One of them was like, mm-mm, no, it's not for you. And I was like, I can honestly say, I don't know what to say, but I do know I'm doing a disservice to you if I say liberal is the only way, or to think this way, or to consider these texts the only text to be classic, or to teach these things only to you. I want to make sure that when you go out into the world, you can say, Chekhov and Shakespeare, but you can also say, Antoinette Nwandu or Danye Arlove. Yeah.
That's so fascinating to me to think he feels, this patron, whoever he may be in the world, feels underrepresented in the theater industry when so much of our current work, and I say we as an industry, so
Mm-hmm.
much of our current work right now is giving voices to underserved and underrepresented demographics.
Mm-hmm.
So a part of me wants to respond to this unknown patron in the universe. There is plenty of work that already validates your point of view. I'm so sorry you can't see it live anymore because we as a people have moved on. But I'm sure there's some recordings out there for you to watch.
Yeah, you're so right.
There's some scripts out there for you to read. Plenty of scripts validating the white male ego.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw a dart and you'll hit one of them. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're so right.
Which is a great segue, Amanda. Thank you for our
Okay.
next question. How do you feel about the representation of minority women in the arts?
I think, once again, I'm coming from a place where I am trying to educate myself on African American culture within the theater. And so, as of right now, I have seen a lot of men writing about women, which I'm not against, but you got to get it right. And then I've seen a lot of it being a woman, the Black woman being an ancestor. But once again, I'm not against, because I talk to my spirit all day long, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the ancestors from the past. Like, hey, Amanda, how you doing? So I'm not against that. Or it's the Black woman being the matriarchal figure in the family. Which once again, I'm not against, because love my mom. She be holding down the fort. Love her. So, but I do think we are doing, as of right now, from what I've seen, we need more roles that show Black women in their entirety, showing them as full women, and that we can be sexy, but we can also be goofy. We are intellectual, and we're also mysterious, but we're also very knowledgeable. And I'm searching. I found a couple of works that I like, but I'm still searching for more that show Black women as, we don't have to be a mom, we don't have to be old as dirt, and we don't have to be written by a male. I'm still looking for that piece that's like by a Black woman, written for Black women, and it displays Black women. That's what I'm really looking for. And I've read one or two, but I want more. I want more.
This reminds me so much, and y'all, we may have to revoke Kiana's black card after this. It is the famous Nina Simone song for the Four Women.
Yeah, it's called For Women.
Oh, it's called Four Women. Whew. Okay. I was like, all I remember is like Four Women, but I can't remember the title of the song. Okay, we're fine.
Yeah, I strongly believe it's called For Women.
Okay, cool. No one correct us. Let us continue to live in this. Thanks, guys. But you kind of going over what are those major archetypes that Black women are kind of put into. And I think that explains it so well. And I was having a conversation with, still talking about my sisters here, guys. Hi. I was talking to one of my sisters about, like, tragic mulatto as one of the archetypes. Oh, yep. That's all I'm going to say there. Amanda, go.
Oh, no. Please keep talking about it, because I went to a workshop last week and it brought up the tragic mulatto, and I was like, wow, you're very right. But I can't remember enough about it to actually speak on it. So please take over.
Oh, I mean, I was just kind of using that as an example of all of the stereotypes, but and again, I do not do a lot of research on tragic mulattoes cuz I find it redundant. But
Yes.
that's a joke about how Kiana looks passing, you guys. But it's this idea of one being of passing like features, and you don't belong in either world, right? Because you don't look Black enough to endure the same type of struggle as your family members or as your community. But then you try to be white, and it's like, oh no, you're Black. You need to step on, and you can't be white. So it's my understanding that the tragic mulatto case is that they never are able to live in either world entirely, and are instead very much on the fringe of society, and that can develop into some very interesting behavioral patterns, i.e. the seductress slash Jezebel stereotype that you see a lot of mulatto characters as, or just absolutely dirt poor and will be conniving and do whatever they need to in order to survive. They're never perceived in a charming light is what I'm getting to.
You're so right. I just read a script by Danye R. Love called Sugar in Our Wounds. And the character's name, I believe, is Hattie. I think Hattie or Maddie. It's one of those. And the description Danye gives her is that she's as light, I believe, as the sun. Yeah. And so, but she's still African American, or she's of two races at least. And while I love that script, Sugar in Our Wounds, it's very much so. He did paint her as the Jezebel, because in the script, she forces herself onto a Black man and sexually assaults him. And so, one, I was happy that Danye told that story, because not a lot of stories are told with women being the ones who are the predators. But also, it did, in a sense, perpetuate a stereotype of the Jezebel. And it was,
Yep.
yeah, it made me not like her. Like you said, made me not like her.
And the fact, okay, so two things. One, the two favorite examples I like to point out for, it doesn't even have to be necessarily a mulatto character. You can be what is considered high yellow and still be put
Mm-hmm.
into that box. In The Bluest Eye, right? They had that one girl in their class. Forgive me, I don't remember the character's name, but like her whole thing, her whole bit was, because I am high yellow, I am better than all of these other kids in my class. And she was a little brat. I mean, she was also like 7, which meant she was going to be a brat no matter what. It's but she
Yeah.
was cute and she was high yellow, and colorism is very much a thing. So all her life she has been told that she is special, that she is different because she is lighter.
Mm.
And you see it in The Bluest Eye, you see it in the color purple, where they have the high yellow character who is very much fawned over by the darker people in her community. And I don't know. I don't even know how we got into this rabbit hole other than to say I'm tired of it.
Oh, character tropes, archetypes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's so
Um,
interesting we don't hear about that for males. Because I was just thinking, my dad's high yellow. And I'm like, I don't remember hearing stories about you.
well, I mean, there is that argument, right? Like, dark skinned Negro versus light skinned Negro. But I don't see them that, but that's more so like a black culture thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see that in literary works or in scripts.
Yeah.
Are they in scripts? If they are, I don't know their titles. Drop them in the comment section, friends.
Please do. Please do.
Cause,
It will go on the theater from my view list.
and then I can watch you analyze it, and you can teach me how to stage it, and it'll be so swell.
Would love to do it.
But yes, so the reason I started asking this question in particular to a lot of our guests is because I have noticed a very large shift in how we are talking about representation for black women
Mm-hmm.
ever since Kamala Harris has become the elect VP.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's all of a sudden, there's this sense of like, we won! We've done it! And I would argue that's not the case.
I see where where you're coming from with that.
Like,
I hmm? Oh, okay. Um, I am so happy she is the vice president elect. Like, please don't get me wrong with that. I think it would be, once again, a disservice not to acknowledge her heritage. She is, I believe, Jamaican and Indian, as in from India. I believe that's her background. Last time I checked, while that qualifies as Black, that does not qualify as African American. And so I'm here for the victory. I'll take them when I can. But I'm not going to say she's legendary for African American women. She, because she's legendary, but she's not African American. She's Black American. she's not African American. So I can see where you're coming from with that. And I definitely, while I'm all here for her, I would be very cautious to erase her, because to erase her is not to see her. To erase the fact that of where she came from is to not see her. And that can be harmful. It can do more harm than good.
And we saw the exact same thing happen with Barack Obama, where
Yes.
he is titled our first black president. He's sorry, friends, he's not. He is our first biracial president. He is our first African American president, but to just label him as just black, as just African American, does not tell the whole story, does not tell his story. And he speaks so often about him being multicultural, of
Mm-hmm.
him being multiracial. And we're kind of like, that's real cool and all, but we still gonna call you only black.
It's so interesting because look at the people who are saying that. And while it may be the African American community, I wonder who was the first people to start saying that. And maybe it was white journalists, white critics, and them telling us how we should view this person instead of acknowledging them for who they fully are. Like
Yes.
trying to erase us so we fit into this one category. Because I was in a meeting today and someone mentioned how sometimes it's either white and black or white and other, which we all assume is black. But that's not the case. There's so many of us that are so different and so beautiful. Like I said, to not acknowledge where we come from and who we are is to erase us and to erase our beautiful culture. And we cannot do that. So I appreciate him for always saying, hey, I am of both, because it's an acknowledgement that I do come from both. And that has propelled me to this moment.
And it's because race in America is already so complex, right? Just period. No explanation, no justification. Like, that's the end of that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And then because racial issues are so complex in America, we now have every conversation about race has to be convoluted and has
Mm-hmm.
to somehow be twisted into whatever favor you want it to look like this week, which is why we are now seeing Kamala getting painted as just black when that is not the case.
Mm-mm.
I we love to see women of color in power.
Yes,
Love to see it. Get it, girl. But like,
there's more to her.
and there was a article I was it's not an art what's it called when it's a podcast? Episode?
Yeah, episode. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Episode.
So NPR has a series that I am blanking on the name of because Kiana never does her research before she does a show. Um
1619.
n- no, and it's not is it Code Switch? No, Code Switch.
Oh,
Code
I
Switch is
don't
by
know.
NPR, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I know 1619 is by NPR, and that opened my eyes. But anyways, back to your point.
I do believe it is Code Switch by NPR, which is a podcast that I listen to on and off again because sometimes I'm like, y'all didn't get that quite right. But they had an amazing episode on Kamala Harris and her biracialness,
Mm.
her multi ethnicness. And I did not know that she essentially had to go on someone's talk show and come out as Indian because that many people did not know of her origins.
Mm.
Where it's like, and they played a snippet of the interview where essentially she says, I don't know if a lot of people know this about me, but I'm Indian. And it was a very scripted conversation that they were having. You can tell like each word was already chosen before they had turned the cameras on. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that this woman recognized that there was a need to say it aloud, to clarify for everyone, by the way, y'all, I'm not just black, in case you had that misconception, blows my mind. It makes me very sad for her that people are erasing her heritage.
Mm-hmm. She's also, or not, her and Barack Obama. It's very significant, like I said, that we get it right when we speak about them, because they are multicultural. So it gives voice to those people who may be struggling, like, how do I identify? Where do I go? Like, I don't know. We have people we look up to because, in a sense, their journey makes it easier for us to endure ours. And so by acknowledging them for fully who they are and where they come from, it's also acknowledging, okay, we have other people who are like that, other people who have multicultures in their entire makeup system.
And normalizing it, because
Mm-hmm.
how many of us are purebreds nowadays? Oh, that was a really nice dramatic pause. Thank you for having that moment with me, Amanda.
You're welcome.
And thank you for saying that representation matters, because it does. It just period. It does. Kiana personally could spend all fucking day explaining to people how much of an identity crisis I had when I went to my HBCU because my own classmates would not recognize me as black. Like, that type of nonsense, because again, colorism is a thing and xenophobia is a thing, and when they can't put you in a box, it makes people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people are mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Period. So I could talk all day about why we need to normalize letting people know, no, I'm this, that, and a third.
Yep.
Don't put me in your one box because it's convenient for whatever survey you're doing, for whatever political point you're trying to make this week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm like forcing myself off of this soapbox. But this is such a good point. It's so going back to the original question, right? Like
Yeah.
representation of women of color in the arts. The reason I find people painting Kamala Harris as our overall victory as women of color, right? Like we've done the thing, we've accomplished it. Pack it up, we can all go home. Um, have you seen theater lately? Even online stuff. Have you seen virtual theater lately? There's so many wonderful works happening where it's black women doing the damn thing, Asian American women doing the damn thing. But what do you see when you scroll through your Facebook feed? What do you see when you get your suggested videos on YouTube? So I'm gonna say it's not quite the win y'all trying to make it out to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, cool, we got Kamala, we got AOC out here making a ruckus. Love them, great. How has that affected the people you hire? How has that
Mm-hmm.
affected the actors you see on screen, the designers you have in the booth, the administration that you want overhead of all your productions? Because until I see all women behind the camera, in front of the camera, on, off stage, around the stage, adjacent to the stage, across the street from the stage, don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me if you're going to continue perpetuating our stereotypes either. Like you said on the stage, look, I love me some certain shows, but certain shows don't need to get done for another 50 years. Because, like, going back to my earlier point, I need to see the African American woman in all of her glory, in all of it. Not just the broke down mother, not just the great ancestor, and not just written by a male. Like, love August Wilson. Sometimes when I read his characters for women, I'm like,
I've said it before. I said August Wilson did not like women.
you, thank you, thank you. Like,
He did it. Let's call it for what it is. But like, if you ask a white person right now, like, name a black playwright, who are they
August
gonna
Wilson.
say?
Hi, I know August Wilson. You might hit a Lorraine Hansberry. You might hit
Might.
a Pearl Clay, depending on where you grew up. I know in Georgia she's really big, but it's like after that, Who's Lynn Nottage?
Don't ask me who's Lynn Nottage. That just hurts my feelings. Never. If you are a person, I do not care what your background is, what your genetic makeup is. If you are a person, period, do not ask me who Lynn Nottage is. Which this was not a question I had emailed you, Amanda, but I really want to pick your brain on it because
Okay.
this has come up in a conversation earlier this week for me, and I want to know your thoughts. There have been a lot of compilations and a lot of lists being made regarding like 30 wonderful black playwrights, 30 brilliant indigenous movies to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we need to be amplifying these stories and giving these artists the props that they deserve. But here are my two issues with these types of lists and compilations. One, going back to our conversation we just had, you're now limiting these artists to just whatever label you just put on them. So I am now just this black playwright, rather I am biracial, triracial, whatever it may be. So thank you for limiting my human existence so you could put me on your list. Appreciate it.
Check.
Two, are we just making the work easier for white people to not have to put labor in to diversify their own like libraries or their own canons?
So here's my thing. They've had Google for who knows how long, and they haven't used it yet. So part of me is like, yeah, we got to spoon feed them a little bit because it's like they're obviously not Googling it for themselves. So it's like, start here, but don't stop here. When you get to that last name, go find something else. Or better yet, when you get to that last name, now that you've read all of their work, go research them as humans. So that's not just a label on the top of the list of indigenous, but maybe you find out some of those people are queer. Maybe you find out some of those people are super rich. They come from an entirely different economical background than what you thought they lived in. Maybe you find out some of them never had any form of education, but yet here they are making it. Do more than what's on that piece of paper. And my sister, we're mentioning our sisters tonight. It's a sister night. My sister's very much so the opinion, no, Amanda, we don't need to spoon feed them. They've had Google and it's an easy search. And I'm like, yeah, it's an easy search, but when have they done it? There is this educator. I'm not going to say how I know them or in what capacity, but it is what capacity they're working in. But they posted on Facebook about wanting to get actors to do, I believe, A Raisin in the Sun, and John Proctor is the villain. I believe that's the name of that script. But they said, yeah, we're trying to diversify the acting and playwright classes at our school, and we thought this was a great place to start. It is a great place to start if we were in 2000. Okay? It is a great place to start if the amount of resources was not available. But it is not a great place to start in 2020. And here's why. There's more than Lorraine Hansberry. There's more than Arthur Miller. But what really gets me, what really grinds my gears about what this person posted is that they said they were going to teach playwriting. And I was like, when you talk about the African American work, get it correct and get it right. I and my people don't write in linear fashion. We like repetition. We like going in circles about the same thing over and over. We like getting on our soapboxes. You want to know why? Because it is important that this theme, this idea, this moment is drummed into your head. And if you don't understand that, as an African-American person, or a person who critiques African-American material, or a person who teaches African-American material. How dare you teach other people about it? Please don't do it. Please don't send these young theater makers out here saying, oh, I know how to analyze Lorraine Hansberry. Oh, you tell me how. You let me know. Because I'm over here almost 26 and I'm still finding juice from that woman's work. My soapbox is off.
Oh, I was just gonna let you stand up there as long as you needed to, boo. You got it. You got it. So two responses to that, and I've blanked on both of them. You're welcome, world. Okay. Bam. So number one, I was watching a clip of the late and great Maya Angelou speaking about her being a producer for ABC, right? And one of the questions that was asked was similar to the question I just asked you regarding perpetuating Black stereotypes, right? Mm-hmm. And the question was like framed in, well, what if your work, speaking to Maya, what if your work is perpetuating Black stereotypes for white people? And she said, you need to backtrack and look at where these stereotypes came from. They came from white people writing about Black people. And then it got put on air and it got broadcast for the whole world to see. And now these little Black kids in white suburbia in whitewashed neighborhoods who don't have the same type of sense of community as some of their other Black peers would have. They look at the TV screen and they think, oh, that's Blackness. That's how Black people act. That's how I should act. That's how I'm going to write Black people when I grow up and become a theater maker.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like, Maya, you didn't have to read him like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, she did.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I saw the same clip. I was like, she's right. A lot of the stereotypes we have are so white people can put us in a box so they can understand us. And then they forget about the other sides of our humanity. And then they only label us as like the fast talking, angry, loud Black woman. But I'm angry because I'm not her. And get it correct. I'm not angry. I'm irate. Okay? I'm irate. There is a difference. It is this fire burning inside of me because my voice has not been heard and people try to use my voice without my permission.
Yes. Gosh darn it, Amanda. I still don't remember what my second response to you was going to be, so we're going to move on. There was a quote that your words reminded me of, too. And it's coming from this very lengthy but beautiful monologue about the stereotypical mad Black woman. And it ends on the line, I'm not mad at you, I'm just mad. And I think a lot of particularly white people get confused on that. I'm not saying you specifically, insert name here, is the reason why I'm pissed off. You may have triggered it. You may have reminded me of something, but I'm not specifically mad at you because you're just another cog in the same machine I'm a cog in. Yeah. But I am mad, but I'm mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah.
Damn it, Amanda, we're at time.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Like, I just looked over at the timestamp. We have just enough time for you to, like, do your pluggables and talk about where people can find you on the Internet of Things.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Pluggables. I am the host. I'm the host and creator of Theater From My View. So go check out my YouTube channel. I usually post every Friday. If it's not up on one Friday, then think next Friday it will be up. I am a one-woman show there, so it is a lot of work to do that, to produce and to host it as well. You can find me on social media on Instagram at Theater From My View. And if you want to get in contact with me, my email is theaterfrommyview@gmail.com. And also you can check out my website, www.washingtonamanda.com. Upcoming projects I have. I'm directing at Kennesaw State. I'm directing one of their TYA shows, which I'm super excited about. The show is called And Then He Looked at Me. It's about bullying. So please come see that if you're in the Georgia area. I am also producing a podcast at Actors Express that should drop at the end of February. Yes. So excited about that. Yeah, I would say some other things, but they're closed events, so I don't want to hype up your excitement.
For everyone to understand why I'm so mind blown, I talk with this woman once a week, a minimum of once a week. We see each other's faces on the internet. I had no clue about half the stuff that she just mentioned. So I'm so glad I asked you, because I was never going to know, apparently.
Look, I posted on social media, and that's as far as I'll go. I'm like, if it's meant to be, the people will see it.
If you build it, they shall come, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I do have a personal favor to ask you, Amanda.
Yes.
You have the cutest fucking intro for Theater From My View,
mm-hmm.
with the hands and stuff. Could you just do it one time?
Okay, hopefully I don't mess it up.
Okay.
That's the thing about the intro. I do it a couple of times. All right. The full thing from hello.
Yes.
Hello, welcome back to my channel, Theater From My View. I am Amanda Washington, and today I am talking with Kiana Alexander from Theater's Not Dead. But before we get into it, a few things. 1, I post a new video every Friday at noon. So 2, don't forget to like and subscribe to this page, because 3, next Friday's coming quick, fast, and boom, and hurry, and you don't want to miss it. All right, are you ready?
So good. It's so good. Because the first time I saw one of your videos, I was like, oh, that's cute. And then you did another week. I was like, okay, so this is going to repeat. And by the 3rd episode, I was like, here it comes. All right, y'all. So we're only a little over time. And I will formally apologize to everyone. Should I? No, I won't, because we're women doing the damn thing, and you should be grateful that you get to listen to this content. That sounded really aggressive. Bam.
It's okay to be aggressive. We're not a stereotype. We're human beings.
Yeah. That being said, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the cute little bell so that you stay up to date on all of T&D stuff. All of our social media is down below in the description, so you can look at our merch. There is merch on Teespring. You can check out the blog Key Thoughts on our Ko-fi page. That is also down below. Also, if you like the content on this YouTube channel, on our website, I say website, on our Ko-fi page, make sure that you are supporting me at coffee.com/Theaters Not Dead. That's a lie. It shouldn't say Theaters Not Dead. I need to fix that. It's Not Dead with Kiana. Wow, I messed up my own URL. But the links are right. Scroll, and click the link. The link is right. We are on the Instagram. We are on the Facebook. Make sure you're liking our pages. You're liking our posts. You go over to Theater From My View. So click, subscribe, like shit over there as well. I'm telling you, y'all, it's some really great content that you don't want to miss out on. Special thanks, as always, to our sponsor, the Women's Theater Festival. Their nonsense should also be down below. They are currently raising money for another programming season. P.S. I really want the show to have funding, so, you give to them, you give to me. You give to me, you give to me. it's as Amanda's gesturing with her hands. It's full circle. I think that's everything this time. Continue to stay tuned. We are wrapping up season 2 quick, fast, and in a hurry. I stole Amanda's thing. So there's only a couple of episodes left in the season. Keep up to date with all of us while we go dark in January. I don't think I've ever announced our hiatus. But we're going dark in the new year for at least a month so I can get my shit together. So, y'all, the content, we're at the end of the railroad line. I hate that metaphor and I apologize. So I'm going to close us out. This has been Kiana Alexander with Amanda Washington, letting everybody know, y'all, theater ain't dead.
Mm-mm.
See you next time.